and welcome to another video. So today I am here with a plan with me as well as a pen review. So ParKoo sent me these pens in exchange for a review video, and I thought that I would put it into this plan with me because then we can actually try these pens in real time. I'm going to use them to put together my weekly spread, get a sense for how they work and what they feel like, and then tell you all my first impressions. So first and foremost, I just want to talk about the outside of them and the packaging. So I haven't actually looked at them like separately yet, so we are really looking at them together for the first time. There are 14 colors. It's a gel pen with a 0.7mm tip, which is I think a little bigger than what I am writing with now, but something I have written with before and do enjoy that size. And then the thing that's really interesting to me, especially now that I am in the plum paper, is that they claim that it dries 3 times faster for reduced smearing. And I don't know 3 times faster than what. There is this little like asterisk here, like maybe there is extra notes to that, but it's not on the package. And then on the back, you have more information about the pens themselves. It comes in a little case that's just this plastic. I don't know what to call this plastic, but you know, it's like not very bendable. If I opened and closed this too much, this would probably snap off. All right, so when you take a look at the pens, they're super lightweight. And they're made out of plastic, so they aren't like super sturdy feeling, which is interesting because the pen I've been using is metal, so this is like much lighter and a pretty significant difference. But the size of the pen does seem to be fairly comfortable, if a little, yeah, I think they'll be okay. And then this part is super smooth, so there isn't like anything weird getting in the way of the grip. It's not digging into my skin in an awkward way. Then it's a click pen, which I enjoy click pens. You don't have to lose the cap. There's the little protective bit of, what is that, wax or something? And then let's do some initial scribbles. All right, so far so good. There's no skipping. It writes fairly smoothly. I'm going to try to see what the smearing is like. So immediately after writing, there is some smearing. It's kind of an inky pen, which I like, because that means 1, there's less skipping, and 2, the lines are bold and vibrant, but it does mean that there's more smearing. So let's see how long it needs to take to dry. So it's a few seconds to completely dry. And it also depends on how hard you write, because I feel like I wrote harder here than I did here or here. So if you're not a very hard writer, then maybe you're not squishing out as much ink, and then it's a little faster. Let's see. Yeah, I think there's less smearing when you're not writing quite as hard, especially near the ends where like you usually get that little weird ink glob, you know? So if you're writing, and then if you're writing really hard, you let off with like a heavy drip at the end. You pick up on those differences. But I'm really interested to see how it's going to work in my plum paper planner. So I will be making my weekly layout across these 2 pages, or maybe just one. I haven't decided exactly what I want to do. And for this pen test, I've written on my notes pages. I will do it on the very back to get a sense of the different colors that we've got going on here. So that's the black one, which I've already been playing with. Deep brown. This like teal color, which is pretty nice. Green. Light green. Blue, or like a dark blue, because there's another blue. Ooh, so there's like a navy blue and then this bright royal blue, which is more classic of a standard blue ink pen. And then a light blue. Which isn't too light. Sometimes light blues like this are super, super light. But it's still distinct from the other blues. Something I do notice about this color palette is that it is very, very heavy in the cool tones. And I'm not really sure why that would be. Maybe because they're darker colors. So for writing colors, you typically want darker ones. But there's like 3 blues and 3 greens. Okay, I used this one a little longer because it was a little rough at the beginning, but then it smoothed out. Might have had some of the wax not perfectly off. Ooh, I like that one. Wow, so all in all, I really like their color selection. I think that they're all vibrant enough for writing and to actually be useful. Even the yellow, it's light, but it doesn't completely disappear. And I feel like yellow is a really hard color to get in a writing utensil because it's very hard to make it that you can see it. But I have no trouble seeing the yellow. And like I said, really heavy in the cool tone colors than in the lighter ones. But good range even within the cool tones. Like there are 3 blues, but they are distinct, so I don't feel like you're getting 2 colors that are way too close to each other. The green and the teal are pretty close to each other in some lights, but that's just because my lighting is shifting a bit from the window. When I first put them down, I think they looked more different than they do now when the sun has shifted a little. Yeah, so those are all the colors. That's what everything looks like. And I will be working on my spread with these and then come back at the end to kind of go through any final thoughts or extra notes I want to make about these pens. And that will be in the form of a time lapse. Alright, so now we are at 3 times speed, and I'm going to take you through my process for setting up my weekly view for this week. The first thing I had to decide was what kind of layout I wanted, and I decided to go with horizontal this week. Not pictured here is the fact that I did want to like I outlined everything and sketched out how to divide up my pages off camera and like out of this video. And now I'm just going in and drawing these lines using the bookmark thing that I use in my plum paper planner. It's also a ruler and a pretty good straight edge. I don't usually use it as a straight edge because I'm really worried about getting ink on the edge and like making it dingy and dirty, because that has happened with some of my Erin Condren rulers when I use them as a straight edge. However, this one is actually pretty easy to clean, so I don't know if ink would build up on the edge over time if I used it more often, but for this particular week it didn't hurt my ruler, so I was happy about that. And now I'm going in and deciding how I want to use the pens and lay out my days. Something that I was gesturing with there, but I did take out in this edit, is that while working on this day with this particular color, I was experiencing a lot of skipping. That skipping was not evident in my original pen test with the scribbles that I did before this time lapse, but as I started to try to write out Monday right here, I was getting a ton of skipping and it was irritating me so much. This is the like teal color, and honestly I love this color, and I'm sad that it started to skip because it was the worst skipper. And basically what I mean by skipping is that, you know how sometimes when you're writing with a pen you can make a line and then there's like a region or 2 or 3 depending on your line where there isn't ink and you have to like go back over it to make sure that you have a bold line. That's what I was experiencing with this teal color, so that got on my nerves. But I did eventually letter in the word Monday, and I decided to use this faux calligraphy font where I went in with a script font and then went back to add some thicker downstrokes to make it look like brush lettering, and I did that for every day this week. And then I just used a simple line font to put in the numbers, and then on the edges of the numbers I drew these little horizontal like turned hearts. And I thought that was a fun accent that is 100% inspired by Light's Planner Action. She has a lot of designs. Her doodle designs have some elements where next to her days and dates, she'll have these little doodle hearts on the sides. And around the time that I was making this setup, she had just released her designer coil planner series. I'll link it down below if I can remember. They're really cool. And I was looking through them and I noticed the little heart details, and so I thought I would play with that this week because I'm not a big doodler. I don't like doodling, I'm not very good at it, but I thought that I would add these little hearts because it would, I don't know, change things up a bit. So I was experimenting with that. And then the color palette I decided to go for was kind of a reverse rainbow. So I started with that teal color on Monday, and I did that because I really like that color. And so once again, I can't believe it started skipping on me. And then from that color, I just kind of moved back in the rainbow order. So I used the teal, a green, a blue, a purple. It's not an exact rainbow. And then I moved into the reds. So I used the like maroon color. Oh, that's my hair on my head. All right. So as you can see, I hadn't brushed my hair when I was doing this. But anyway, Friday was this maroonish pink color, the hot pink on Saturday, and then the orange on Sunday. And this is the week of the 20th through the 26th of July. So this week has just ended when this video goes up. And none of the other pens had this exact same skipping problem. All the other pens wrote pretty smoothly for the rest of this setup. It was just that teal pen. Pens that were super inky included the blue on Wednesday and the orange on Sunday. Both of those released a lot of ink and gave really bold lines, but I was honestly a little worried about bleed through, and I was happy to note that I did not experience any bleeding, though there was a lot of ghosting. And that's not just the pen, it's also the paper. Plum paper is not the thickest paper. It's very thick and very nice, but there are thicker planner pages out there, and this is not one of them. So I did experience some ghosting, but no bleed through, so I was pretty surprised by that. Then I decided to go in and put this little divider line to separate my days from like the to-dos and events that I would pencil in here in a bit. And I knew that I wanted to have little circles as my checklists for this week, and I wanted them to all be as uniform as possible, so I experimented with using the holes on my bookmark here as a stencil, but it did not work. The holes were too small. I couldn't get the pen in right. This pen was skipping on me, so it was not easy to use this stencil. And at the end of the day, I got sick of it and decided that I could draw by freehanding little circles myself. That would be so much better than what I was getting with this stencil. So I just finished that up with circles that I drew by hand, and then I continued, and I decided to color code this week. So not only do I have my days in separate colors, but everything within that day is in that color, which is easy and fun for a setup like this when I'm doing it all at once. But as I had to add things to this later in the week, it kind of got annoying because I have a black pen out all the time, and if I wanted to do different updates on different days, I had to hunt through and get my other colored pens to make sure that everything matched. And so maintaining this layout through the week kind of wasn't worth it. I think that I'm not going to color code like this again because I don't like it. It's why, in part, I'm not color coding my weeks as a whole. Right at the end of May and early June, I was color coding, and I just hate hunting down different pens. I want to have a black pen and use it and just pick it up and do anything I need to do with it and not worry about if it matches whatever colors I've set up for that week. So that was a little irritating, but that was my experience with trying to color code this week. It does look really nice. I'm very happy with how this spread turned out, but it's not my style. Then I used this top section here to mark down any to-dos for the week as a whole, and I just marked it as this week and put my bullet points. And then I was originally going to have 2 columns of bullet points and just have lists, because for the most part, I'm a big list maker, and this spread is really just to hold to-dos that I want to put on particular days or hold off to a certain time. And it's very rare that I have lots of appointments, almost ever, even when I'm working, and now especially when I'm not working yet, I just don't have that much to do. But this week was actually pretty eventful, and so instead of using that right hand side for another list, I decided to use it for some lettering. And so I used that section to letter in things like bills and appointments for this week, and I really like how that came out. That was a lot of fun to do. So I start with Monday, which is when I get paid, and so I lettered in that it was my payday, and then added this like extra thick line with some dash marks in it, like hatches. And this is like one of like 2 or 3 fonts that I can do. I really don't have a big repertoire of lettering fonts because I've stopped practicing a ton, but I did that. And then I marked that Monday we wanted to go to the BMV. It's a BMV here. That blows my mind. I'm used to calling it the DMV, the Department of Motor Vehicles, but it's the Bureau of Motor Vehicles here, which is super weird. But on Monday, because I got paid, we were going to go to the BMV because then I had the money for the fees associated with transferring IEDs and titles and things like that. Spoiler alert, after standing there for 2 hours, we didn't have everything we needed to do what we needed to do. I was missing a document for my boyfriend to get his license, and then I couldn't renew my license at that particular location because my license is a temporary license and I didn't want to just apply for an ID. So I wanted to keep that temp status, and to do that I had to renew my license at a testing location, and this is not a testing location, the one that I went to on Monday. But by the time I got to the line, everywhere else had closed, so I still haven't done that. Hopefully the day that I'm doing this voiceover is the day that I will go update that. So that was annoying. And then I also marked that we were going to get groceries, and we did grocery pickup for the first time this week, and it was amazing. Oh my god. I didn't have to dodge people in Walmart because only recently have they made masks mandatory. It was only a request, and there was like a 50-50 chance whether someone was going to have a mask in Walmart, and it was so stressful, and I was dodging people all the time. And Walmart has aisles listed so that you're only going in one direction and you don't have to like scooch past people because you can't maintain 6 feet social distancing doing that, and nobody pays attention to the aisle markers. It is so annoying. But with grocery pickup, we didn't have to deal with that, and I loved it so much. It was beautiful. We ordered our groceries online, we went to the parking lot, someone put them in the trunk, and then we left. It was glorious. Then Tuesday, not Wednesday, I'm marking an appointment that I had here. I'm writing it as a therapy appointment, but really it was like an intake appointment where like I had to call and explain to them like all the reasons that I was calling, and this lady talked to me about like services that they offered and stuff, and to like help me decide what would actually be helpful for me. And so I had that call on Tuesday, and I think it was helpful. So that lady's setting me up with like a counselor and stuff for future weeks and days and whatever. And then on Wednesday, I marked that my school was having a virtual town hall meeting. I ended up not going because it felt like it was more a parents' meeting, so I didn't do it. I do find it ironic that meetings that we're having on whether schools should reopen still remain virtual, because if you don't feel safe enough to meet in person to talk about whether you should reopen, does that mean that you should really be reopening? I mean, you know what I mean? So, I don't know. The issue of whether schools should be in person or online is so incredibly, like, nuanced. Like, there are so many things to consider. I'm glad I'm not making those decisions. I'm just going to be the one that shows up where I'm told to show up. But all in all, I'm glad with where I am, because no matter which way the school decides to go, it's a small school already with small class sizes that doesn't lack resources. So I don't feel like I am going to be in a high risk kind of work environment if I am at school working in person. So that is something that I'm very grateful for in my current job. And there are plenty of schools where it would be really hard for me to want to go into work because of the like class sizes and layout of the schools and the lands and stuff like that. So that's another thing altogether. On Thursday, I'm lettering in that I had 2 bills due. One for Verizon, which is my cell phone account, and then one for AT&T, which is where I get my internet from. I used to have a cell phone plan with AT&T, but it's expensive. AT&T is like what I consider name brand cell phone and internet service. I don't know if anyone else has that impression, but AT&T is expensive to me. But they're like the only people that offer internet at my apartment complex, so they're who I have for internet. It's not the worst rate in the world, and I guess I just mean that it's affordable, so it's all right. But I do have a history with AT&T that's not that great. Then on Friday, I am marking that is when my Spotify account gets renewed. Other things that I have been entering on these little bullet points include the videos that are going up at different times, which I completely changed. Basically, I missed Wednesday's upload, which was the Shadow Rising Wheel of Time vlog. I'm going to put that up next week, hopefully, but I just couldn't edit it in time. It's like a lot of footage because those books are long, and the Shadow Rising I read over the course of a whole month, so like there are 6 different video clips to go through, and I couldn't do that in time. Then on Saturday, I'm marking that I wanted to film my plan with me, and I really like this one. I experimented here with 2 fonts. So I used this scripty font to write the word film, and then the bold and extra bolded line to write out PWM for a plan with me. That was loads of fun. And then other things I outlined was the videos that I wanted to subtitle each day. That is not a schedule I held to this week at all. I'm just so behind, but I have to catch up because there are more videos that aren't yet subtitled on my channel than I would like, and I want to go back and make sure that those are all properly subtitled. Then I added more to-dos on Monday because, again, I got paid on Monday, so there are just things to do, like remember to pay certain bills that I can pay ahead of time, like that aren't auto withdrawn, because then I can manually do those, get those all out of the way the first day so that I know they're taken care of. I needed to withdraw cash because I don't carry cash most of the time, and the BNB, at least when I read the website online, only accepted cash or checks. I saw a credit card machine there, but I think there was an extra fee associated with using that machine, so I made sure I had enough cash, and then I didn't know how much cash to take out, so I just took out what I hope is too much cash, because honestly it was a lot. And then that's about it. So this is everything for my week, and I really like how it came out. I love all the colors, and I love the different fonts and the lettering in the right hand side boxes, and it was a lot of fun to set this up. It took me like an hour, so I really took my time with this spread, but it was also loads of fun. So thank you so much for watching, and I am going to pop back in here in real time to give you some of my final thoughts on using these pens for this week's setup. Okay, so I think this is my final spread for the week. I really like how it came out. I wanted to kind of take some time today to really spend a lot of time doodling and decorating in my planner, which I feel like I haven't really felt like doing the past couple of weeks. My spreads have been pretty minimal and straightforward, and for this one I wanted to take my time, which is why I'm glad these pens got to me in time, because this is the perfect way for me to actually have an in-depth review of them and also do this kind of more creative spread than the ones that I have been doing. And that's just pure coincidence, but I'm glad that it worked out that way. I almost wasn't sure that the pens would get here in time for this plan with me, and I'd have to wait until the next week, but they got here on time. And yeah, so basically my format is the days on one side, like vertically oriented, then a section for to-do lists, and then a section for like big things, like bigger things than small to-dos. So places I have to go, bills that are due, meetings I have, that kind of thing. And yeah, so the pens that I did not really use a ton in this spread are these three, but a red pen is pretty straightforward, and then these two I'm not terribly worried about experimenting with in detail. I got a good feel for all of the other pens. In general, I would say that they're light, right? And sometimes the lightness of a pen can make it feel cheaper. These pens though, even though they're light, the plastic is actually quite firm. Like, it doesn't feel like a flimsy pen. If you can have it's like a sturdy plastic, so they actually don't feel as cheap as the weight might expect you to expect. And the one issue I had was this pen. Over the course of this plan with me, this pen became my arch nemesis. It is the teal pen, and it skipped a lot. Like, sometimes I would be writing and it would miss entire lines, and I'd have to go back and do them again and again, and I don't know what that's about. It was only one of them, and I want to deconstruct it, but it looks like you can't take out the ink cartridge, which is weird. Okay, so yeah, that's the thing. I like to take out the ink cartridges to check how much ink I have left in my pens, especially when it doesn't have anything clear on the sides for you to keep track of that. But for whatever reason, the ink cartridge seems to be directly attached to this, and I don't know how to separate them. So really, if you're going to check your ink, you can only check it like right there, which is enough for checking your ink. But I wanted to pull it out to see if there were any weird bubbles or irregularities in the distribution across the tube, because it doesn't, I don't know if it's an ink issue or like a nib issue, because the inks on all the others ran quite smoothly. Some of them were juicier than others. The blue was very inky, the dark green was also super inky, and the orange was extra inky. I really like these. I'm not going to put them back in the storage case. I don't like cases like this. I'm going to keep them in the same little drawer I keep my fine liners, because these are like more decorative, even if they aren't fine liners. And you'll probably see them pop up in my daily spreads. I didn't have any issues with streaks, which surprised me, and like smudges, because no matter what, I kind of always have problems with smudging in this planner. That's because the paper is super smooth, so anything you write with has to be able to dry super fast, and the pens that I've been using aren't meant to dry fast. They're just the pens that come in my Simply Gilded subscription box, and I don't want to buy more pens when I have so many other pens. So even though they're not perfect for this paper, I use them because I wouldn't use them anywhere else. And it just seems like a waste to me to buy other pens. But these actually, I was impressed. I thought they worked quite well. I occasionally wrote and then tried to like smear it, and it didn't get a lot of smears. I mean, instantly after there's sometimes a smear, but like in your regular writing, like usually when I'm writing a spread like this, I have to be really careful to not touch the ink at all and like keep my hand up off the page. And here I didn't do that as much. I did it a little bit just like out of habit, but for the most part I was not worried about ink smearing, and none of it smeared. Just a little over here. But yeah, so the smearing went really well. Now, something I'm interested in is the bleeding and the ghosting, because I did not pay attention to that at all, and I'm glad there's nothing important on either side of these pages, because that was not something I thought to check before I started my spreads. And as you can see, anytime I did the faux calligraphy, there was some pooling of the ink as I went over it to color it in. So let's take a look. So there's definitely some ghosting, especially in the darker areas, and plum paper kind of always has a little bit of ghosting. The paper is very good at like preventing bleed through, but you get ghosting. And there are like a few little spots here in some of the inkier pens. So the blue one down here is the inkier pen, and in the spots where ink pulled up the most, like at the edges and the ends of letters and where I was coloring in, you have the beginning of some bleed through, but not too much for me. Like I feel like this page is definitely still usable and it didn't get to the other side. If we look at this side, basically the same thing. Not as much in the orange, even though that was an inky pen because it's a lighter color. But then over here with the purple, is that the purple? Yeah, which was also pretty inky. You have the beginnings of some bleed through, but not so much that this is unusable. Really, the worst offender was this blue one, and I think that the blue one was the inkiest pen of all of them. But otherwise, they worked out really well. I can't express how much I was surprised. I've never heard of this brand before, and they asked me to review their pens, so I was like, okay, cool. And then it said it dries 3 times faster, so I was very interested in how the drying was going to be, and it just works really well in these. So like, I would recommend these pens, especially for the plum paper, where sometimes finding a pen that's not going to smudge super hard is a little harder. I like them. I like this spread. I'm gonna keep using them. I'll probably try to get more usage out of these 3 in the upcoming days or weeks, just to get a feel for how they are. Really, the biggest thing I anticipate with these is if there's going to be any bleed through problems, it'll probably start with the red pen. If the red pen turns out to be as inky as the blue pen, then it is a dark enough color that might be a concern. These 2 I'm not really worried about bleed through or shadowing because they're lighter. I'm worried about skipping, but in my initial pen tests at the very back, where did I put it? Here, they didn't have any skipping, but neither did that teal one, and that teal one really wasn't great. Let's see. Yeah, the blue, the yellow, and then the red. So yeah, really thinking about skipping. But out of 14 pens, I had one that was kind of a dud, and admittedly that's the one that was closest to this other green. So if I don't use this pen, I don't lose a lot in like my color selection. It kind of blends in. So these 2 are very similar. But yeah, so I like them. I'm gonna keep using them. I will have them linked down below in the description box with a link to other ParKoo products. They have a few more pens and like stationery supplies. So there you go. That's my spread for this week. I'm very excited. I really like it. I haven't done a horizontal spread in, I don't know, I have no idea, like a very long time. So this was fun. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.